situation last week at Darlington, so I think we're going to see a lot of action.
The internet, and YouTube especially, have over the years become the home for countless pieces of horror and unfiction projects. Most of these projects usually take the form of found footage horror, either falling into the analog horror genre, digital horror, and sometimes a bit of both or neither at all. It's always surprised me that there's never really been a watch list or any sort of list for unfiction horror on YouTube, at least that I've found. So, I wanted to change that and provide a concise resource for people interested in the medium but unsure what to watch next to rely on for quality recommendations. This watch list will not only include analog horror though, as the name might suggest, it'll also include community top picks for digital horror projects and also a list of the best found footage feature films ever made. But how will this list be laid out exactly? Essentially, the watch list will be organized into three categories: analog horror, digital horror, and feature films. The first two categories will feature series, then films, which are standalone movie-length projects, and finally, what I'm calling one-offs, videos not connected to anything else meant to be standalone. I've also taken the liberty and integrated the watch list into my website for easy, effortless viewing. You can check it out by clicking the card or by heading to the pinned comment. I've poured a ton of effort into making the layout as clean and easy to browse as possible. Just click on something you want to watch and it'll take you to its playlist or link right away. It's as easy as that. You can easily browse between categories, and if something catches your attention, you can just click on it and it'll take you there so you can save it. It's a sort of Netflix for unfiction, if that makes sense. I even designed a variety of unique posters for a series that didn't have one, and if you want to get the download to those, they're available on the site too. Anyways, I'd recommend giving it a browse and sharing it with friends who might be interested. It's important to note that this watch list is going to be constantly evolving over time as new projects get added, and my hope is to publish a revised video yearly with new additions. Also, I want to stress that this is in no way an objective or final list of unfiction projects, and it's merely a library of the most high-quality, creative, and innovative works vetted by the wider community that I wanted to publish as someone who's been following the culture for a long time, and especially as an unfiction creator myself, and as someone who's deeply analyzed the tropes and main players. So without further ado, let's begin this watch list with
Analog horror is an offshoot of the found footage film genre, which focuses on emulating the style of analog media formats, and often uses said formats as a storytelling or narrative device.
I want to clarify that the following entries are not classified in any particular order and that this is not a best worst ranking. It's only natural to begin this list with one of the quintessential analog horror series on YouTube. The Backrooms by Kane Parsons is one of the most popular and recognizable analog horror series in mainstream culture, taking the original Backrooms myth and brilliantly expanding it with expertly crafted episodes that not only make it tangible and horrifying, but also give it character and a history. Starting life as a humble animation, the series quickly expanded both in quality and popularity, incorporating corporate conspiracies, deeper implications, and more variety into the original story. Its grounded, visceral approach contrasts extremely well with the surrealist nightmare there are these series' Backrooms, and its anthology-like structure allows it to showcase different perspectives and tell its overarching story with episodes seemingly unconnected to the main storyline. I could talk all day about this series, which goes to show how great it truly is. I'd recommend the Backrooms to anyone who's wishing to begin their analog horror journey, as it remains the gold standard for the genre to this day. Valle Verde is a masterfully crafted series that takes the form of investigation logs documenting a seemingly innocent video game of the same name, an Animal Crossing-esque life sim brilliantly brought to life with incredible graphics and design. However, the logs slowly start to reveal the game's true colors, unraveling a conspiracy involving neural research, biblical symbology, and impossible technology. The faithfully designed visuals contrast horrifyingly with the virtually impossible activity the game displays. I'd highly recommend Valle Verde, as it's one of the best series in the lost video game niche, and it carries extremely sentimental and unique themes, all accompanied by stunning visuals. Ben Drowned is often cited as not only one of the original unfiction projects on the internet, but also as one of the best. Ben Drowned is an extremely innovative series which takes the form of raw gameplay footage of The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, and also incorporates forum posts and blog entries in a form of multimedia storytelling. The main character claims he received the cartridge from a yard sale and decides to play through the previous owner's save data, which is still contained within. The series documents how the author and audience slowly experience increasingly paranormal activity, unraveling the mystery of what exactly happened to Ben, the cartridge's previous owner. Ben Drowned still stands as one of the best unfiction projects in history, and its raw gameplay is still impressive even to this day. Project Monster is a Godzilla fan series created by filmmaker Lost Utopia Films. The series follows a brilliantly deceitful premise. What if kaiju were real? And brilliantly combines dozens of monsters from the Godzilla and kaiju mythos into one lively and natural world with its own rich history. Its stunning effects, combined with its amazing storytelling, will please any kaiju fan, scratching that itch of ground perspective monster battles while also focusing on the human casualties. And its unexpected moments of visceral and frankly gut-wrenching horror are sure to catch you off guard. While Project Monster may seem simple on the outside, it's an incredibly well-produced and unique series. The Monument Mythos is one of the most unique analog horror projects ever made. The series is a collection of presentations and film reels that chronicle the history of an alternate universe Earth in which major US landmarks and historical figures are intertwined in a worldwide conspiracy. This conspiracy causes society to drastically change, becoming a sort of retro-futuristic world where computers are banned and many of the aforementioned landmarks and figures become bizarre, twisted versions of themselves, with major historical events in our timeline altered. The Monument Mythos carries an extremely melancholic, almost brooding atmosphere that makes each episode profoundly unsettling. And its world is one of the most strange yet inventive ones that's ever been seen in unfiction. The story takes many unexpected turns, and it's a fantastic watch. Paranormal Paranoids follows a lone internet investigator trying to uncover the truth behind the disappearance of a YouTube ghost hunting group called the Paranormal Paranoids. She manages to re-upload many of the Paranoids' old videos, uncovering an unsettling series of events that could point her in the right direction to find the truth. YouTube filmmaker and reviewer Chris Stuckman is currently working on a feature film based on the real mystery, so we'll have to wait and see where that goes. Gilbert Garfield is one of the most genius and unique unfiction projects ever made, taking a varied multimedia approach. At the start of the series, we're introduced to Max, who demonstrates a mysterious broadcast uncovered by his friend titled Gilbert/Garfield Crossover. Upon digitizing the reel, Max finds a bizarre and extremely raunchy short featuring precisely the character the title implies. This tape sends him down a rabbit hole, which ends with him uncovering a bizarre conspiracy with ties to celebrities, eugenics programs, and more bizarre cartoons. Gilbert Garfield is not only genius because of how expertly crafted and believable its visuals are, but also because of how utterly bizarre and funny it can be, combining genuinely hilarious writing with horror elements.
Boat. And the Love Boat was one of those shows that everybody watched, but nobody ever really liked it. I never understood it. The boats never had sex with each other.
Serving as a pseudo-parody of ARGs, while ironically telling its story in extremely inventive ways. Midwest Angelica is a fantastic series which draws heavy inspiration from 80s films and visual effects. The series consists of a collection of tapes documenting the arrival and subsequent study of an extraterrestrial body characterized as AZ-001 of unknown origin. Most of the tapes were created by a research team called HOME, which was created specifically to study AZ-001 and its unique properties. However, Things soon turn for the worst as AZ-001 breaches control, forcing government action. Midwest Angelica's uniquely 80s-inspired story is cheesy in all the best ways, but it also has genuine moments of terror. Its visuals are also extremely unique, giving it an early CG look that's very stylish. The Super Mario 64 Beta Archive is one of the many series inspired by the fairly recent Super Mario 64 horror resurgence, which gave rise to multiple unique and interesting projects. I believe the SM64 Beta Archive is one of the best examples of this phenomenon, as it expertly combines multiple different footage types into one continuous story, featuring incredibly faithful visuals that look like they genuinely could have been official end-of material from the game. The series also has a lot to say about workplace negligence and abuse. Soul Corp, similar to Gilbert Garfield, serves as a pseudo-parody of the analog horror subgenre while also offering unsettling moments as well. Its creative world-building almost resembles the absurdist technology of the Fallout universe, and the very deadpan presentation of sad absurd elements like a device that allows you to speak with the dead through ashes that can lead to terrible consequences, or a horrific clown robot meant to care after toddlers, makes for a comically chilling combination. Blue Horizons Inc., created by production company LZ Motion, is an analog horror series that parodies corporate instructional videos. Blue Horizons is less horror though, and much more satirical, similar to Soul Corp's tone, featuring Adult Swim-esque surreal comedy and expertly produced visuals that parody 80s instructional tapes and their soulless corporate nature. Junior's Archive is a Five Nights at Freddy's fan series which takes a hybrid approach with its storytelling, combining more traditional cinematic scenes with creative found footage segments, telling an alternate, more grounded version of the game's story. What I appreciate about Junior's Archive is both its incredible animation, which allows it to have more flexibility, and that it always finds ways to outdo its creativity with its episodes, offering some of the most innovation in the FNAF VHS scene. The Incident series is a short but very effective Jurassic Park fan project created by game developer Chronoticon. The series shows unconnected incidents related to the Jurassic Park mythos, from the original films all the way up to the most recent, and offers some incredible boots-on-the-ground horror that the films have been lacking for quite some time. The animation is absolutely stunning, and while not always perfectly photoreal, it still features excellent writing that feels just like the movies. Maple 9 is an excellent analog horror anthology created by animator Burger Scum, which all take place within Canada. The series' episodes all tell drastically different stories, with some featuring a pair of Cold War-era decryption specialists accidentally tapping into a mysterious quantum reality through a pawn cabinet, and others as simple as a Russian teddy bear being revoked from shelves. Maple 9 is expertly brought to life with quality animation, writing, and effects. Petscop is one of the best unfiction series on the internet, being one of the most innovative and important series, especially in the haunted video game niche. Almost everyone has heard of Petscop at some point, and its premise is something nearly everyone can relate to, finding an obscure, long-forgotten game you could have sworn never existed before. Petscop not only has some of the most technically impressive visuals in its niche, alongside Valle Verde, but it also has an incredibly intriguing story riddled with mystery and grief. Many mistakenly cite Local 58 as the first analog horror, and while that is completely untrue, it still played a major part in popularizing the subgenre, and it's definitely a unique series. Local 58 also popularized the news broadcast style, as it features local station programming blocks in its episodes, inventively telling its events through them, alongside other pieces of footage. Gemini is another staple of the analog horror genre, and it has a lot of similarities to Local 58. Gemini Home Entertainment is told through a collection of tapes which initially seem like innocent educational content about the solar system, but slowly unveil a cosmic plot to overtake Earth, orchestrated by incomprehensible forces. Arguably one of the first true analog horror series online, CHSS established many of the concepts later series would utilize. taking the form of broadcasts and videos related to an enigmatic psychological survey initiative. CHSS depicts a seemingly dystopian government where mind control experiences are rampant, and systems theoretically meant to help the mentally unwell are exploited. It's a fascinating watch, and I'd highly recommend it if you consider yourself a fan of the genre at all. Since there aren't really any analog horror films on YouTube that aren't actual professional movies, I'll cut straight to the one-offs, which are shorts unconnected to any larger series. Here are the one-offs I selected, which you can find on the website or on the playlist. Blue Channel Thalassin by Gooseworks and This House Has People in It are notable examples, but every project listed here is great in their own right. The Service by Harvester is my personal favorite project from the selection, and I'd highly recommend checking it out.
Digital horror is an offshoot of the found footage film genre which focuses on emulating the style of digital media formats, usually utilizing older technology. It often uses said formats as a storytelling or narrative device.
I saw it best to start this list with one of, if not the best, digital horror project currently active, and quite possibly one of the best ARGs of all time. Interloper is a multi-medium ARG combining both videos and video games seamlessly, making for one of the most interactive and accessible ARGs in recent memory. Interloper's story begins when source filmmaker animator Anamade uncovers a strange graffiti in the 2004 first-person shooter Half-Life 2, developed by Valve Software. This discovery leads him down a convoluted, seemingly endless journey, which starts to reveal increasingly bizarre and paranormal activity embedded within multiple source engine games. Anamade also provides different material during the course of the story, either being mysterious game replays that impossibly generate random, bizarre sequences, map files with hidden secrets, strange game servers connected to the ongoing plot, and even links to another YouTube channel that's connected to the story. Interloper is easily the best project in the source engine horror niche, and also the most horrifying and innovative too. The ARG is still ongoing and shows no signs of slowing down. But what I found genius about Interloper is that you don't need to participate directly to get the full story, as the episodes and related material themselves already provide the full experience. Nebula and Quasar is an unfiction project cataloging an obscure PlayStation 2 video game created by the now defunct Lightyear Games called Nebula and Quasar. What sets this project apart from similar ones, though, is that it isn't strictly horror, in that there are no serialized episodes. Instead, the project takes a completely unique approach, and its content, which is spread throughout multiple channels, features miscellaneous archive material of the game, that be it commercials, soundtracks, gameplay, and even fan-made videos. Nebula and Quasar is brilliant because of this very reason. There is horror subtext, but it is incredibly subtle and left up for interpretation, and the material is unbelievably well crafted, being exceedingly charming. The Oldest View is one of the best found footage horror series on YouTube, and it serves as a sort of companion piece to Kane Pixel's main project, The Backrooms. The Oldest View expands on several of the ideas and themes established in The Backrooms, but tells its own self-contained story unconnected to it. The series combines expert writing with unfathomable visual effects and scares, which gloriously bring to life the now demolished Valley View Mall. The series' stunning effects make the already surreal horror feel even more bizarre and uncanny, making for one of the most unsettling antagonistic forces in the genre. The film also has a beautiful message, and it contains a lot of hidden themes and subtext, most of it linked to obscure real-life history. The Oldest View is a must-watch for horror fans everywhere, and it truly needs to be seen to be believed. Marble Hornets was the first, or at least one of the first, proper unfiction series on the internet, predating even Ben Drowned and other pioneering projects. It is aged exceedingly well, especially compared to some of its other contemporaries. Marble Hornets was created barely 2 weeks after the original Slender Man mythos began, and it follows Jay Merrick as he tries to uncover the truth behind the scrap student film Marble Hornets, which was being worked on by a group of students before they crossed paths with an enigmatic force. Marble Hornets is superbly well crafted, and it's considered one of the best internet horror series for a good reason. A recently released spin-off of the original series, Marble Hornets Rosswood follows a scrapped episode of an online documentary series titled Crayley in the Real World, created by Alex Crayley and his friend Jay. The episode sees the pair investigating the urban legends surrounding the abandoned Rosswood Hospital, but their visit soon takes a turn for the worse as they realize that things aren't exactly what they seem. If you've watched the original series already, you will definitely have a lot more to analyze than someone who hasn't, but it's still an incredible miniseries separated from the original, with themes touching on online content creation and how far one is willing to go for fame. Everyman Hybrid is a found footage horror series that follows three friends trying to overcome cabin fever through the creation of several fitness videos. However, their stay soon starts being tormented by a slew of several dangerous entities. Everyman is less serious than some of the other Slenderverse-related projects, but it still managed to stand the test of time and has become a cult classic. No Through Road is one of the first found footage horrors on YouTube, and it feels like it hasn't aged a day. The plot follows a group of friends who get lost on their way home. However, the story takes many unexpected turns, and the cinematography genuinely makes it feel like real footage with fantastic acting. Badwater Videos 2009 follows a collection of videos from an old-school Gary's Mod YouTuber of the same name. However, as the videos progress, it becomes clear that this player's copy of the game is exhibiting impossible activity, much like in many projects in this niche. But what sets Badwater apart is its unique shifting perspectives and simply the sheer brutality of its paranormal activity. The charming and innocent videos the creator produces clash greatly with his questionable actions, and he slowly becomes a greater antagonistic force than the entities supposedly haunting him. Gunslinger Pro is quite similar to Badwater and other projects like it, except it's much more focused on the game Team Fortress 2. Gunslinger's dynamics are completely different though, as instead of the player's game fighting back against its own player, the entities in Gunslinger seem to actively fear him. How to Make a Homunculus is not your usual unfiction series, taking a much less obvious approach at the genre, masquerading as genuine serious videos. The series has an extremely dry and straightforward approach, presenting the bizarre scientific elements in a very nonchalant and matter-of-fact way. The great, almost stop-motion-esque effects also help give it a realistic feel. Minecraft Alpha 1.0.16 versions presents a forgotten branch of the Minecraft game, developed by an enigmatic Mojang sub-team. The series documents multiple pieces of found footage from this branch of the game, and they get increasingly more bizarre and separate from the original until the game becomes practically unrecognizable. This series exploits the uncanny and lonely feeling many similar projects use from old Minecraft alphas, and takes it to another level with creative additions and much more malicious forces than your regular Herobrines or shadowy entities. It is an impressive series, and I'd highly recommend it. Roblox Footage Archives is a Roblox fan series that documents a series of mysterious occurrences, all relating to a wider story connecting several paranormal entities. What I find unique about RFA is how disturbing its atmosphere can grow to be, since a lot of the paranormal events simply do not feel like Roblox. Decoded Collective is another Roblox found footage series, but it takes a different approach compared to others. Decoded Collective is organized like an archive documenting different instances of an old urban legend on the site, a quote-unquote robot developed by Roblox themselves. The main plot of the series occurs in wonderfully charming videos that perfectly capture the old-school game, featuring a group of friends that accidentally find themselves crossing paths with this thing. There also exist other episodes occurring around the same time from completely different perspectives, all revolving around the legend. Spookface is one of the most unique projects in the Roblox horror niche, styled as recordings from the game developer Spookface, documenting how he's being chased by gangstalkers in the game. Spookface begins employing increasingly advanced tactics to track and uncover the truth behind the gangstalkers, seemingly losing his mind in the process, and unbottling a mystery embedded deep within the game. Spookface has a very unique format, and it's one of the only Roblox found footage horrors that utilizes the modern game instead of employing nostalgia. Teeny Toys Exploration is a fantastic series that also falls into the video game niche, and similar to Petscop and Valle Verde, masterfully creates its own fictional game inspired by a lot of real-life influences. Teeny Toys is based on virtual worlds like Club Penguin and Toontown, and tells the simple story of an old player revisiting the game after decades. However, in doing so, he finds clues pointing to a strange mystery he had long forgotten, as he grapples with the game reminding him of deeply locked-away trauma. Teeny Toys tells an extremely sentimental story with very well-done visuals that make the game feel empty and lonely. Animal Crossing Obscure OST is one of the most unique digital horror series in the video game subgenre, as it takes the form of a collection of scrap music from the game Animal Crossing Wild World. Now, you may think you know where this series is going, but it'll always find a way of catching you off guard, and the way it portrays its story through exclusively music and some short videos, images, and descriptions is nothing short of genius. This is a seriously terrifying series, or album, I suppose. I recommend you give it a listen, as it's one of the most unsettling series I've personally seen. Knock Plus 10 is one of the only ARG projects on YouTube where the use of ciphers and encrypted codes makes sense in the story. Knock Plus 10 takes the form of a mysterious YouTube channel of the same name, uploading jargled and bizarre videos featuring codes and other fragments of information. Eventually, the pieces start coming together, and we learn that whatever Knock Plus 10 is, it's connected to a computer of some sort, it's transmitting from the bottom of the ocean, and it wants someone or something named Helen to shut it down. I'll admit that Knock Plus 10's video content is quite enigmatic, and you might require some supplementary material like analyses to get the full story. Alan Tutorial also falls into the category of pioneering internet horror series, being created in 2011 by filmmaker Alan Resnick, and it parodies the boom of amateur tutorial videos seen at the time on YouTube. However, the story takes several and unsettling twists as the tutorials slowly turn more bizarre, playing with themes of psychological torment, trauma, and loss. And here are the digital horror films I selected, which are feature-length digital horror projects. The Awakening is a collaboration between EAS scenario creators Eltic and Harvester, and its main plot revolves around a distant relative of one of the most dangerous viruses in the world emerging in the United States, setting in motion a global pandemic. However, this virus carries properties previously thought impossible, and it begins causing the slow decay of society as it spawns violent hordes of the undead. I consider The Awakening to be the single most creative found footage film on YouTube, as it tells its events expertly through a complex web of emergency alert broadcasts, news reports, radio chatter, and more, making for a gut-wrenching watch as you get a front seat to the collapse of society, as if you were experiencing it yourself. Every bit of footage feels incredibly real, and its focus lies on the socioeconomic consequences of the pandemic rather than the zombie threat itself. This film grows to become seriously unnerving, and its final moments are sure to leave your jaw on the floor. I highly recommend The Awakening, especially to anyone who enjoys the EAS horror niche. A genius Minecraft fan film that posits the hypothetical, what if there is only one person left playing old-school Minecraft? The film is presented as completely raw footage of an unsuspecting player's beta Minecraft world, created presumably out of his exhaustion with the modern game. However, slowly but surely, this player begins uncovering stranger and stranger discoveries until there is no doubt remaining that he may not be the last beta player after all. Invasion of Taiwan is yet another EAS found footage film, this time depicting a historical fiction scenario in which the Chinese government attempts to invade Taiwan. This plot may sound simple on paper, but its execution is nothing short of stunning, and it's incredibly well made and realistic. Finally, to end this segment, here are the two one-off digital horror projects featured on the list. EAS 814-2018 is part of the extended Mystery Fleshpit National Park world-building project, one of the greatest endeavors of its kind on the internet. While short, it's a great watch if you know its context. Project Red Sun is part of a creepypasta/conspiracy theory, which suggests that NASA has already traveled to Mars and back, but the public hasn't been informed because of mysterious reasons. To end this watch list off, I want to recommend a series of found footage horror films. I won't go fully in depth for each and just discuss them briefly. The Blair Witch Project is one of the most important found footage films ever made, as it helped establish many of the foundations of future films or series using the style, and helped popularize the genre. It tells the story of 3 film students who vanish after traveling into a Maryland forest to film a documentary on the local Blair Witch legend, leaving only their footage behind. Without Warning is part of what I like to call the Newscast trilogy, comprising the films Special Bulletin, Ghostwatch, and this movie. The three of these are brilliant films, all terrifying in their own way, and the relatively close release windows, yet complete lack of awareness that similar films were made before, makes their takes on the newscast concept all the more interesting. Without Warning, much like its contemporaries, is entirely styled like a news broadcast, with incredible performances truly selling the events. Its plot kicks off when fragments of an asteroid hit the United States, China, and France. The events are covered by TV news reports. However, more meteors come, causing the question, is it natural events or alien aggression? Special Bulletin involves a TV reporter and cameraman being taken hostage on a tugboat while covering a workers' strike. The demands of the hostage takers are to collect all the nuclear detonators in the Charleston SC area so they can be detonated at sea. They threaten to detonate a nuclear device of their own if their demand isn't met. Special Bulletin is truly nerve-wracking and features one of the most shocking conclusions in all of found footage and some of the best acting that I've ever seen in a film. Finally, Ghostwatch presents us with a live broadcast on Halloween night, which features a BBC team investigating a reported poltergeist in an ordinary London home. Similar to the previous two, it features immaculate acting and is equally, if not more shocking than the previous ones, on a much more personal scale. Lastly, I want to quickly recommend the following films: the Paranormal Activity series, Hell House LLC, Always Watching, A Marble Hornet Story, As Above, So Below, Cannibal Holocaust. Often cited as the progenitor of the genre itself, it still stands as a fantastic film. The McPherson Tape, the Wreck series, the VHS series, Cloverfield. Maybe just stick to the first one. And to finish us off, it's The Great Martian War, a mockumentary film recounting the events of the War of the Worlds via a historical perspective, as if the story truly happened. Thank you for making it to the end of the watch list. I hope some of these incredible films and projects caught your attention, and even if you've already heard of or watched most of these, I pray that you found something new that piqued your interest. Remember that all of these are easily viewable on the Watchlist's website, and that I'll very likely expand the list in the future. I also want to make a separate video for found footage movies in the future, as I very quickly burst through them and want to analyze the topic further. So, that was the watchlist. Be sure to tell me what you thought of it and recommend any series or films I should include next time.